It's the love affair that almost was.
Look, you may not be a union member. You better thank a union member. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Teamster President Sean O'Brien announced on yesterday that the Teamsters will not be endorsing Kamala Harris. Let's talk about that.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Awesome, baby, to the top of the line.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. That's the way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching the Afternoon Drive. Well, despite the best efforts of the Kamala team operatives and other Democrats trying to spin this as no big deal, this is earth-shattering. The fact that after almost 40 plus years, the Democrats are not receiving the automatic blanket endorsement from really the largest union in the United States, 1.2 million members, the Teamsters. Now, of course, Sean O'Brien spoke at the Republican convention for Donald Trump. That kind of ticked off the Democrats, who, for spite, wouldn't allow him to speak at the DNC. Now, O'Brien has said that neither Kamala or Donald Trump will agree on the key issues that would have given the endorsement to them: right to work, etc., the government not getting involved in negotiations so that it takes away the leverage that striking workers have. And since neither candidate would sign off on that or overturning right to work, he withheld his endorsement. No, what he really did was he took an internal poll, and 60% of the rank and file Teamsters members are going for Trump. 30% are going for Kamala. So he didn't make an endorsement, but he made an endorsement. By not endorsing Kamala, it is an endorsement for Trump. 60% of the rank and file union members, they're in it with Trump, and Trump accepted their endorsement.
Earlier today, I was honored to receive the endorsement of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. I love the Teamsters. They delivered all that concrete for those buildings I built in New York. They delivered the big, heavy, those beautiful trucks you've ever seen. They delivered the concrete in all those buildings I built in New York. But, you know, this hasn't happened in so many decades. We won the overwhelming majority of the local chapters and the members, and as a result, the national organization has refused to endorse the Democrat candidate for the first time in many, many decades. And I also want to thank Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, amazing man, and all of the incredible rank-and-file Teamsters across the country, because this was a surprise. It's automatic. They endorse the Democrats, automatic for many, many decades. But you know what? They said, they looked at her, they said, we're not going there, I'm sorry.
President Trump at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, that would be New York. It was filled to overflowing capacity, and with the crowds outside watching it on Jumbotrons, the estimated crowd was at 60,000 people. That's New York, people. New York. New York is in play. I have been telling you this for going on 2 years now. New York is most definitely in play. And all of these pollsters and all of these talking heads that are trying to tell you everything is razor thin and Kamala's going to end up taking it, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, this manufactured climax for Kamala is not happening. No, trust me, nobody's having an orgasm over Kamala Harris. It's just not happening. She's not on anybody's dance card. CBS got a rude awakening when they went to Arizona, went to a half a dozen diners, talked to literally hundreds of patrons, and could only come up with one Kamala supporter. And they were shocked to find out that the black and Hispanic people they talked to in these diners all agree with Trump on the border. Bump-a-dum-bump. So the rank and file union members, they know where their help is coming from. Now, as the Democrats try to spin this as, hey, she got the endorsement of the California Teamsters, 300,000 of them. She got the endorsement of the Michigan Teamsters. Yeah, she got the endorsement of the Democrat leaders within the Teamsters in California and Michigan, which basically means that those union leaders dissed what their rank and file dues paying members wanted. Because again, I promise you that even in California and Michigan, the vast majority of the actual Teamsters, the guys driving the trucks and doing the job, the guys that are working for the railroads, working for the airlines, they want Trump. The only one on the Democratic side that's actually being honest about this and letting you know that she's salty about it and this ain't right, they owe us their support, is AOC.
I'm very disappointed in Sean O'Brien's leadership. I have found it increasingly alarming all year. When the Teamsters are in trouble, who do they call? When we need to make sure that Teamsters pensions are bailed out, when we need to make sure that they have a fair shake at the negotiating table with rail, it was Sean O'Brien calling Democrats for help.
Well, Alexandria, I hate to fact check you in real time, but the railroad workers strike, Amtrak, old Joe loves to talk all those stories about riding Amtrak into Washington, D.C. when he was still a family man. Yeah, it was Joe Biden who crushed the railroad workers strike. Crushed it. It was guys like Senator Hawley and J.D. Vance, Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, that actually walked with and marched with the striking railroad union workers. Bump, ba-dum, bump. So, they didn't get their blanket endorsement that they have always gotten from the Teamsters. I know, hey, we get the Teamsters, you guys got Taylor Swift. It all works out in the end, right? I mean, the seismic earthquake shift that this is huge. Sean O'Brien went into what some would have considered the lion's den by coming to the RNC, but he came, he made his case, and even though Donald Trump may not have agreed with his full platform and what it is that he wants to do, Sean got to present this to a conservative audience, many of whom had never heard this before. That's a good thing. That's how you change people, by having an opportunity to have some influence and explain the other side. This was big. And it is showing you a complete realignment of the parties. The Democrats are in bed with the billionaires. They are in bed with the industrial military complex. They want a police state, a surveillance state. You've got Governor Gavin Newsom now giving himself a high five that memes can now be illegal in a state like California. You could go to jail for producing a meme if they don't like the content of it. You have Hillary Rodham Clinton out there saying, yes, we need censorship. Yes, the government needs to step in and tell us what is acceptable speech. Totally throwing out the First Amendment. And these are the people who say, oh no, Kamala won't take your guns. She owns a gun. She's for the Second Amendment. No, she's not. They're not for any part of the Constitution. That old drag show they had going on that they called their DNC Joy Convention, where they had American flags up on the platform, that was like the first time ever in like a half a century that the Democrats have even remotely tried to, on the outward, show that they don't have an open disdain for the United States, because since the late 1960s, Democrats have done everything they could to distance themselves from patriotism, because patriotism represented sexism and it represented racism and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now all of a sudden they're trying to paint Kamala as something she ain't. And the American people aren't buying it, and the polls are showing it. I'm going to take this out of here with the words of Sean O'Brien at the Republican National Convention.
I'm Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I also want to thank President Donald Trump for opening the RNC's doors to the Teamsters Union and inviting me to speak before you tonight. And I don't care about getting criticized. It's an honor to be the first Teamster in our 121-year history to address the Republican National Convention. Several months ago, I asked the RNC and the DNC for the opportunity to speak. To be frank, when President Trump invited me to speak at this convention, there was political unrest on the left and on the right. Hard to believe. Anti-union groups demanded the president rescind his invitation. The left called me a traitor. And this is precisely why it's so important for me to be here today. Think about this. Think about this. The Teamsters are doing something correct if the extremes in both parties think I shouldn't be on this stage. President Trump had the backbone to open the doors to this Republican convention, and that's unprecedented. No other nominee in the race would have invited the Teamsters into this arena. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want, but one thing is clear. President Trump is a candidate who is not afraid of hearing from new, loud, and often critical voices. And I think we all can agree, whether people like him or they don't like him, in light of what happened to him on Saturday, he has proven to be one tough SOB. When I won the presidency of the Teamsters in a national election 2.5 years ago, we started reaching across the aisle. In the past, the Teamsters have endorsed GOP candidates, including Nixon, Reagan, and George H.W. Bush. But over the last 40 years, the Republican Party has really pursued strong relationships with organized labor. There are some in the party who stand in active opposition to labor unions. This too must change. And I want to be clear. At the end of the day, the Teamsters are not interested if you have a D, R, or an I next to your name. We want to know one thing. What are you doing to help American workers? As a negotiator, I know that no window or door should ever be permanently shut. In my administration, the Teamsters reached out to 8 Republican senators who stood up for railroad Teamsters over our fight for paid sick leave. Josh Hawley was one of them. We started talking. Senator Hawley changed his position on national right to work. Then we started walking. Senator Hawley walked a Teamsters picket line in St. Louis and a UAW picket line in Wentzville, Missouri. More than that, I want to recognize Senator Hawley for his direct, relentless, and pointed questioning of corporate talking heads, lawyers, CEOs, and apologists. He has shown he is not willing to accept their pillaging of working people's pocketbooks. I know from a career in negotiating that you get nowhere by slamming your fist on the table. The first step is to listen. The Teamsters and the GOP may not agree on many issues, but a growing group has shown the courage to sit down and consider points of view that aren't funded by big money think tanks. Senators like J.D. Vance, Roger Marshall, and Representatives Nicole Malliotakis, Mike Lawler, and Brian Fitzpatrick are among elected officials who truly care about working people. And this group is expanding. In my office in Washington, D.C., I can see the United States Capitol from my window. I see well-intentioned people arrive in Washington and get eaten up by an unforgiving system. The responsibility to average Americans takes a back seat. The objective now becomes survival. Fundraiser after fundraiser, corporate consultants hedge every initiative. The Hill crawls with lifers, bouncing from government jobs to corporate jobs and back again. I think we can all agree D.C. is a pretty treacherous area. Most legislation is never meant to go anywhere, and it's all talk. And in America, talk isn't cheap. It's very expensive, and it comes at the cost of our own country. The men and women who provide goods and services, deliver packages, stock grocery shelves, care for patients, pick up your trash, and keep our communities safe are taken for granted. All the while, the stock market booms, housing prices hit record highs, and corporate salaries skyrocket. But the income of everyday Americans are shrinking in the face of inflation. At the gas pumps, at the grocery store, with the electrical bill, and with the car insurance. This has got to change. Never forget, American workers own this nation. We are not renters. We are not tenants. But the corporate elite treat us like squatters, and that is a crime. We've got to fix it. Now, this will shock you. This will shock you. To paraphrase Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, it's time for both sides of Congress to stand their butts up. We need trade policies that put American workers first. It needs to be easier for companies to remain in America. We need legal legal protections that make it safer for workers to get a contract. We must stop corporations from abandoning local communities to inflate their bottom line. We need meaningful bankruptcy reform. Today, corporate vultures buy up companies like Yellow Freight with the intent of driving them into bankruptcy and feasting on their remains. The courts leave workers begging for crumbs as third-tier creditors. Labor law must be reformed. Americans vote for a union but can never get a union contract. Companies fire workers who try to join unions and hide behind toothless laws that are meant to protect working people but are manipulated to benefit corporations. This is economic terrorism at its best. An individual cannot withstand such an assault. A fired worker cannot afford corporate delays, and these greedy employers know it. There are no consequences for the company, only the worker. We need corporate welfare reform. Under our current system, massive companies like Amazon, Uber, Lyft, and Walmart take zero responsibilities for the workers they employ. These companies offer no real health insurance, no retirement benefits, no paid leave, relying on underfunded public assistance. And who foots the bill? The individual taxpayer. The biggest recipients of welfare in this country are corporations, and this is real corruption. We must put workers first. What could be more important to the security of our nation than a long-term investment in the American worker? In 2021, Teamsters nationwide elected me to fight for them, and that's precisely what I'm doing. Something is wrong in this country, and we need to say it out loud. I will always speak for America and the American worker, both union and non-union. I challenge each and every one of you, and especially my friends on the Democratic side, to embrace cooperation, to truly collaborate, to achieve meaningful and productive change, to ensure we make this great nation in this world the bigger, faster, and strongest nation in the entire world. I love this country. The Teamsters love this country. Our 1.3 million members move America on the roads, in the ports, on the rail, and in the air. And at the end of the day, if the powers to be stop me from raising my voice on behalf of American workers, I will not have one single regret. I still carry my commercial driver's license. I still have my place on the union seniority list. You'll find me back in Boston driving a tractor-trailer, delivering equipment for Shaughnessy and Ahern, because I have the protection of a union contract that gives me the freedom to speak my mind and to fight like hell. God bless the greatest nation. Thank you very much.